Greetings, fellow tarot travelers, tripping through the tetrahedral triptych of cards I shall now lay before you. I'm Tarot Torch, and today we're going to talk about China. What is China? Its geographic and economic boundaries are expanding with island and international naval port building, while internal mainland Chinese economic planners have built miles of unusable housing developments and cities sitting idle. Its people are a worldwide community, and many dialects of Chinese are spoken, as well as other ethnic group linguistics associated with the nation of China. Taiwan is a separate nation that houses the Chinese culture's most valuable ethnic and cultural pearl. Taoists, Confucianists, Buddhists, and others populate this small island state off the edge of the People's Republic of China. This is where the religious treasures and religious leaders of the Chinese people escaped during the years of Cultural Revolution, population purges, and the years of repression that followed. The majority of the Taiwanese religious, or better yet, philosophical, or yet a better interpretation might be as life path guidance systems. But irrespectively, these ancient and profound Taiwanese religious systems had one common thread: vegetarianism. Every one of these groups knew about and highly honored a vegan diet. These cultures also endorsed vegan herbal medicine, meditation, appreciation for nature, morality, work, and education. Everyone is worried about Chinese military aggression and communist Chinese economic imperialism. But few people accept the global population demographic implications, concluding that both China and the world must go vegan. China tried a one-child policy that failed miserably to limit population growth, and which is the current cause of an overpopulated, aging, male-dominant demographic that is out of balance and malproportionate. With so many people in China, it is time China looks at its own ancestral roots. A vegan diet, which includes vegan dietary supplements and quality filtered water, accommodates both China's and the world's ever-doubling population levels. A vegan diet uses less water, causes less pollution, is self-sustaining, and ecologically sane. The questions are, will mainland communist China ever make peace with its past and re-accept vegetarianism? Will mainland China give credit to the Taiwanese people and their cultural preservation of so many important historically rich methods of living and turn to vegetarianism? Will China finally understand that Tai Chi, Kung Fu, meditation, and moral philosophical systems all support a vegan culture? Can mainland China catch up with the rest of the world, augmented by modernizing cultural upgrades, and accept current scientific and medical realities that a vegan diet is a healthier diet? Well, these are big questions. Changing China is like changing the dragon. It's not so simple, is it, people? And I have before us two decks, because when questions are unanswerable, we can turn to the cards. On the right is a deck called the Chinese Propaganda Art Tarot, and it is done from mainland Chinese communist propaganda posters. And on this one will represent mainland China. On the left is the Chinese Tarot deck by Zhui Guoliang, and this deck will represent Taiwan. It is a Confucianist deck. And one finds out when studying Chinese Taoism or Chinese Buddhism that Confucianism sways heavily in all philosophical systems. After all, the founder of Confucianism is from China, whereas the founder of Buddhism is from India. And so let's see what the cards have to say about China turning vegetarian. First, let's turn to the vegetarians themselves and see what the Chinese people of Taiwan have to say about all of this. And so we cut the cards and turn a few. And the first one is heavenly master? Well, I think that's very appropriate because it was only through a disciplic succession that these rites and rituals conferred upon people levels of majesty based on years of dedication in their studies and vegan lifestyle practices. The next card is the Four of Staves. And the Four of Staves is a holding pattern. It's about balancing and keeping opposites at bay. And this is the whole idea of balancing yin and yang energy. And the last card is the Four of Coins, economic prosperity. Only by balancing ecological and population concerns will the economy survive. One can't live on an island like Taiwan and have massive population growth and have massive exploitation of natural resources and put in polluting factories and destructive practices that can't be life-sustaining. The only way to run a healthy economy in Taiwan is with the balancing act of what the heavenly masters have taught, a vegan diet. If everybody in Taiwan meditates, the close proximity of a limited island environment will keep people from going mad in terms of over-interaction with the same people over and over again. But it is through a vegan diet that we will find a healthy economy and a balanced way of living. Well, let's see what mainland China has to say about this. The Six of Cups is the card of marriage traditionally, or of union, or of children playing in happiness and bliss. And so, in fact, mainland China is not so upset with the idea of a Chinese heavenly master. In fact, I would think that it would be easy to integrate the systems of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism into a mainland communist ideology because none of them are theistically oriented. And in fact, there's nothing wrong with an amalgam of philosophical systems that are Chinese. China doesn't have to be communist first. It can be Chinese first. Even Mao Zedong talks this way in his little red book. But it seems that so many of the planners of the Central Committee want to have this European-derived economic and social system of European Marxist communism be the root of their society, but it's not Chinese. Communism is European, not Chinese. Instead, the people of China would be very happy to accommodate the idea of a heavenly master and the Chinese symbology of Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism as methods of employing their communist ideologies rather than European models. The next card from mainland China is the Ace of Swords. So rather than seeking balance with the environment, rather than seeing balance with humanity, rather than seeing balance with the water cycle, China is only concerned with conquest. They don't care about the mountain. Tear down the mountain, move the river, destroy the crops, ruin the ancient Ming villages. As long as we are the dominant force, who can tell us what to do? And this is the worst of Chinese communism. It is action without evaluating the reaction. It's irresponsible, and it is not going to be sustainable. China can't just go forward in a conquest modality and ignore the roots of its people and its heritage and destroy its own environment and exploit its own resources to the point where it's an unlivable country. This has to be tempered. Well, let's see what the next card offers. The Eight of Swords. During the Communist Revolution, all the intellectual people, and I'm talking about the college professors, the Taoist priests, the Buddhist monks, the Confucianists, all the people who were very scholarly, who knew the ancient systems of herbology and astrology, things that wouldn't hurt people to continue in their culture, were given dunce hats like this, forced to be worked to death, often imprisoned and tortured and executed. This was a sad day in Chinese history. And so what we see here is that the mainland Chinese fundamentally like the idea of their heritage philosophical systems that lead people to a vegetarian diet. But the hardliners are opposed to anything that reduces conquest, and they make fun of things rather than learning and exploring the possibilities. In exchange, we have Taiwan, who seeks this balance, accepts their heritage, and who has the healthy economy. If China wants to rule the world, it can do it with a dollar sign far faster and easier than with the sword. And the sword is just a short-lived, short-term process of conquest and does not lead to a true, happy nation or planet. Making fun of people and ridiculing intelligentsia is not a pathway of success, and by killing 60 million people, China has proven this fact to be true. What we need here is to have the two sides brought together. So I'm going to offer one card from each side to see with yin and yang what will happen to bring them together. And we have the Emperor from Taiwan and the Wheel of Fortune from mainland China. The Emperor from Taiwan means that there has to be a great leader, a great political, economic leader who rises from Taiwan, who will represent the truth of the ancient Chinese heritage, and who he himself is a vegan vegetarian. And then it will be the advent of phenomenon beyond man's control. Climate change, crop failure, disease born from industrial waste and pollution, where finally the communist revolution has literally caused massive national suicide through its impractical policies of ecological destructionism and carnivoristic dietary practices. And then at that time, with a great leader rising from Taiwan, the mainland Chinese people will finally be able to entrust themselves to their own roots of their own cultures and embrace a vegan diet.